Welcome to Nominating Committee Procedures, a Texas PTA Spotlights workshop. The nominating committee is very important as it directs the future of your PTA leadership by creating a slate of elected officers. This workshop will assist you in the process of searching out and selecting the best people to serve your PTA as its leaders. Today, we are going to learn what the nominating committee is responsible for, how they function, and how they can accomplish their tasks. We'll cover their duties and responsibilities, learn about candidate eligibility and duties, go over some reminders, cover a few of our most frequently asked questions, and make sure you know what resources you have at your disposal. Let's start with the bylaws. What does this important document tell us? Bylaws are your manual for most rules related to the rights of the membership and how the executive board should function. Article 9, Nominations and Elections, Section 1, Nominating Committee has a lot of information for you. A through D are all about electing the nominating committee. We cover that process in another Spotlights workshop. E through H are the parts you'll need now that you have been elected. E, the parliamentarian will schedule the first nominating committee meeting. F, lists the responsibilities of the nominating committee. G, goes over the details of the report of the nominating committee. H, explains that once the report is read at the election meeting, the nominating committee shall dissolve. Let's look at the duties of the nominating committee a little closer. The bylaws say the committee needs to sign the nominating committee confidentiality agreement before any discussion takes place. Elect its chair. Consider only candidates who meet eligibility requirements set forth by these bylaws and who have signified their consent to serve if elected. Consider all nominations and may seek additional candidates during its deliberations. And by majority vote of committee members present and voting, submit only one name for each position to be filled. So, how does the nominating committee go about accomplishing this? Let's dive deeper. The first thing the nominating committee needs to do is to sign the Nominating Committee Confidentiality Agreement. Members of the committee must have frank discussions, and confidentiality is key in making sure the best decisions are made for the PTA. This agreement can be found on the website at texaspta.org/nominations-elections. The committee will then select its chair. The chair is there to guide the process, but has no more sway in the final decision of the slate than any other member of the committee. Committee members should read the bylaws and standing rules for each position, as well as for general executive board duties, so that they can communicate these to prospective candidates. Additionally, committee members often find it helpful to speak to the current officer to get a sense of the commitment and skills needed for a position. And prospective candidates might want to speak to them as well. Use the information you gather to match people to jobs based on skills, experience, availability, and interests. We'll dig into the bylaws in a few minutes. The entire committee must keep in mind that their duty is to determine the best candidate for each elected officer, as listed in the bylaws. In order to do that, they need the help of their school community. Ask for suggestions for nominees from members, teachers, and administrators. Create a process to allow for self-nominations. Many PTAs create an intent to serve form, either on paper or digitally, to collect interested individuals' names and which positions they would like to be considered for. These forms typically ask for background information and skills held by the individual so that the nominating committee has a better understanding of where the individual might fit before contacting them regarding any of the positions. As you work to determine the best candidates, remember that it is ideal to have representation from a variety of grades and be reflective of the demographics of your membership. Current officers who have served only one term in their position are eligible to seek election for a second term. Reach out to the current officer to find out if they are interested in returning in either their current or another position. If they are not selected to return, it is best for the chair to personally explain the reasons as soon as possible and to encourage them to seek another position that would better fit their schedules, skill sets, or interests. Members of the committee may be considered for nomination. Do not allow a committee member who is being considered to be present during the discussion regarding their qualifications. They may be present for the discussion of other candidates for that office, and they may also vote on that office. Also, when it is time to interview a potential candidate, it is best practice to do so at a committee meeting so that all may hear or be quickly informed of the discussion. The committee should slate one officer position at a time. Each selection should be done by ballot. A majority vote determines who is slated for that position. Prepare a report with one nominee for each elected position. The report must be signed by a majority of the committee members. If a member of the committee is not in agreement with the report, they are not required to sign it. Any committee member who does not sign the report may nominate an additional candidate from the floor like any other member of the PTA. Once a committee member signs the report, they must stand behind all of the nominated candidates. Here is an example of a nominating committee report. Remember that this report should only be signed by the committee members who are in agreement with all of the candidates listed. You can find a sample of this report on our website at texaspta.org/nominations-elections. There are a few additional duties for the chair. They will present the report to the executive board for information only. The chair may present the report to the current PTA president as a courtesy prior to presentation to the executive board. The chair will need to publicize the report at least 7 days, 15 for councils, before the election meeting via normal channels of communication. At the election meeting, the president will ask the chair to present the report to the membership, and then the president will conduct the election. The nominating committee is a special committee and therefore dissolves once its duties are completed. As part of the dissolution process, it is important to destroy all materials where potential candidates have been discussed, including emails, paper ballots, and the like. So, how do you know what to look for in candidates and what each role entails? Let's take a look at where you can find this important information. The most important section of the bylaws for the nominating committee is Article 10, Executive Board. This section covers Section 1, composition is what positions make up your board. For the work of the nominating committee, you will need to know which officers your PTA has. Do you have a president-elect? If so, remember, you won't be nominating a president because the current president-elect will automatically become the president. You will be nominating a president-elect. Do you have more than one vice president? And what are they in charge of? Head to Section 1 to make sure you are looking for the right officers. The nominating committee is only responsible for nominating officers, but may end up hearing from or talking to people who are willing to serve in other positions or on committees. The chair should keep a list of these interested people and pass along those names to the newly elected president for consideration as the new elected officers work to fill the remaining positions. For example, standing committee chairs. Section 2, eligibility. There are several eligibility requirements. Candidates must believe in the mission of PTA, be a member of the PTA within 30 days of the start of the membership year in which they serve, receive no compensation, not be employed by the PTA, and serve in only one capacity. The president has a couple more eligibility requirements. They cannot be a council president and a local president at the same time, and not be a member of nor announce candidacy for the school board. As you look for candidates, you'll want to make sure each one is aware of and willing to be bound by these eligibility requirements. Section 3. It is important that the nominating committee know that student members under 18 years of age cannot serve as president and/or president-elect, first vice president, secretary, or treasurer, nor hold a majority of the offices. Section 4, co-chairs are prohibited. The nominating committee can only nominate one person for each position. Section 5, term of office. Executive board members serve a term of 1 year. They will assume their official duties following the end of the fiscal year, not the school year. Section 8 and 9 are really important for the nominating committee. Section 8 covers the fiduciary responsibilities of each executive board member. They are broken into 3 categories: duty of care, duty of loyalty, and duty of obedience. Section 9 has additional, more specific duties for each officer. The nominating committee will want to be very familiar with these sections as they look for candidates with the necessary skills, availability, and willingness to serve in these important roles. Nominating committees will want to copy these sections and share with any potential candidates to make sure each one is aware of the expectations prior to accepting a nomination. Not every PTA has standing rules, but if your PTA does, they will spell out any additional duties of your officers. For example, in the bylaws, it will say your second vice president is responsible for programs, but give no additional details. You have to go to the standing rules for the specifics. In this instance, the standing rules would be specific by adding things like the second vice president programs will have a committee with 2 additional members and be responsible for planning at least 2 student enrichment programs and 1 parent education program over the course of the year. If your PTA does have standing rules, you'll want to be familiar with any additional expectation of the officers that you are looking for. They also contain any additional rules not covered in the bylaws. The nominating committee will also want to share the relevant sections of the standing rules with potential candidates ahead of them accepting a nomination. The parliamentarian is a vital resource for the nominating committee. They will provide the committee with all the materials they need, including copies of the bylaws, standing rules, if any, and the nominating committee guidelines packet. They will also schedule the first nominating committee meeting and will be the person the committee will go to for any questions or concerns during the entire process. Advertise the positions on campus and to feeder schools. You want a good pool of people to choose from. We can't say this enough. Confidentiality is key. Remember to be considerate of current office holders. They deserve to be treated with kindness and respect and are considered to return if they are interested and have done a great job. If they are not chosen, we want to remember to treat them with gratitude for the job that they have done and encourage them to consider another role. Discuss honestly and openly for best results. You want the best person in the job, but focus on facts and not gossip. Be honest with potential nominees, giving full information about duties of the position. It's best if people know what is expected from them. This helps set the new officer up for success if everyone knows exactly what they are agreeing to take on. Handle potential nominees carefully. The chair should be the coordinator of all offers to a nominee. Committee members may be speaking to different people about the same positions and should collect as much information as possible to bring back to the committee. Once the committee makes the decision to offer a position to an individual, the chair should contact that person and they should be given the opportunity to accept the nomination. They may need some time to make the decision, so don't wait until the last minute to let them know. Nominees who accept should be informed about the process of the election and the possibility of someone running from the floor. Nominated candidates are not guaranteed the position, so don't promise one. Once the new officers are elected, the chair should share the names of the people who were interested in other positions and include their interests and level of commitment. They are potential chairs and committee members. Frequently asked questions. Can the president appoint the committee members? No. The bylaws state that the PTA members elect the nominating committee at a membership meeting. Remember, the current president should be completely uninvolved in the nominating of the next leaders of the PTA. We need and want the participation of our members in this process, and that process should never have the appearance of being exclusionary. Can the principal serve on the committee? Yes, if they are elected by the members. Is this a good idea or a bad? The committee members are sometimes intimidated by having the principal in the meeting. You could ask for the principal's input outside of the meeting or before the meeting is called to order. After all, who best knows all of the parents? In this manner, the principal feels included in the process without being part of it. Remember that the perception that the principal is running the PTA can be harmful to both the PTA and the principal. Does the alternate attend the meetings in case they are needed? No, they only attend if one of the members cannot serve on the committee. That member would drop off the committee and the alternate would become a permanent member of the committee. Can a member of the committee be nominated by the committee? Yes. If a member of the committee is being considered, they should step out of the room while the other members discuss their qualifications and return to discuss the remaining candidates' qualifications and for a ballot vote if necessary. What if a candidate withdraws prior to the election? The nominating committee would attempt to find another candidate for that position. If the report has already been published, the chair would amend the report and note the withdrawal of the candidate and the nomination of the new person. What if the nominating committee can't find someone for one of the positions? The report would have open position listed and would continue to search for someone right up until the election. Nominations for all positions will be taken from the floor at the election. If a position remains open after the election is held, the executive board will fill it according to the bylaws. Remember your resources. The bylaws and standing rules provide the essential information you'll need for your committee to perform its job. If you don't have a copy of these documents, ask the parliamentarian for copies. Or if you're an officer on file with Texas PTA, you can request a copy on the texaspta.org website under Governance. When you request your bylaws from Texas PTA, if you have standing rules, those will be sent as well. Your parliamentarian is there for any assistance you may need. Don't hesitate to reach out to them. The Texas PTA Parliamentarian Resource Guide has a nominating committee support section. And last, but certainly not least, the Texas PTA website has a designated page with information on nominations and elections, including the nominating committee guidelines at texaspta.org/nominations-elections. Remember, it's about more than just putting names on a list. You are looking for the best possible candidates to lead your PTA into the future. Your work is important for every child on your campus. Thank you for watching Spotlight's Nominating Committee Procedures. If you have any questions, please reach out to your council PTA leaders if you are in a council, or your Texas PTA Field Service representative.